Part 2.
So now we're talking about Civil War. Civil War was a fun theater experience, to say the least. I messaged Robbie asking him, do you want to see Civil War? Yes. Going to the tickets to our local theater, which is like Galaxy Theater, I think. We're just doxing ourselves.
I mean, we live in Austin.
We do live in Austin.
Oh, well.
I go and see that there's a 4DX option when I'm looking at the tickets for Civil War. And I'm like, there's no way this movie's in 4DX. From what I had heard from 4DX, the chair will move while you're watching the movie. So I was like, oh man, watching a movie about America being divided with stupid shit in my face for like 2 hours and 44 minutes straight will either be the best immersive experience ever or make me hate the movie so much. And it didn't affect my opinion of the movie other than it immersed me a little more.
It actually was impressive how immersive it was because there's a lot of scenes where they're in a car driving and the seat was moving.
Some of it was a little annoying. Like the opening scene is like the journalist pulling up and then they park the car and then you feel the car.
They simulate the
that's
forward.
so stupid.
Like, that's kind of cool.
I looked over at you. I was like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Having a good time. It was interesting whenever there were like bullets being shot though, because it'd be like
The best scene with Jesse Plemons when he shoots somebody and he only fires, I think, like 2 bullets in that scene. When both bullets are fired and it's jolting. Yeah. I was both like jolting myself in shock of like, oh shit, this person's dead. And then also the seat.
I liked this movie a lot. And I think the D-Box was a fun way to see it. But it was impressive because it immersed you, especially during those car scenes, because it was like being in the car with the characters.
Right.
Besides that, I expected this movie to be schizophrenic fan fiction about Donald Trump taking over America, but obviously not Trump because they're not going to call him that, but it'll be America is the best and the greatest in America. Like just a president that's obviously him. Just some schizophrenic fan fiction about how Republicans bad, Democrats good, or Democrats bad, Republicans good, or whatever the fucking message they were going to go for. And it would be super duper like topical, and they'd talk about like abortion or what's going on in the world. And
Republicans have too many guns.
I was gonna be like, okay, that's not what the movie is. In fact, it's very light on the political commentary, which I was like, yes.
No, well,
that's tell me what you believe.
That's so many people's points of contention with this movie whenever I go online. No, and I
wanted the schizophrenic fan fiction.
It adds to the suspense of the movie for me because, for one, whenever they come across a crazy person, they just have a gun, maybe some camouflage on, and then that's it.
And
there's
no obvious, badges or patches to tell you what side they're on.
Which also a lot of people complain about how there was no explanation of exactly like who was who or what led up to the split of.
That's how it is.
Yeah, not explaining anything like that helps me be immersed into the movie more. And
there is enough world building to figure out what happened.
I don't.
The president is clearly a fascist authoritarian leader, and somehow, some way, he got elected for a 3rd term.
I think the director said that he illegally got a 3rd term.
Yeah.
There is a fascist president. The president is killing their own citizens, has been smashing the Constitution. Then what's happened is 2 states who are in famously different political positions are saying we are more concerned about a fascist constitution smashing violent president. We are more concerned about that than we are about our political differences.
And that's how California and Texas were like, we're putting aside our differents and saying you're
that's
wrong.
Obvious. Like the president only gets 2 terms because when FDR was getting 4 and 5 terms, everyone later was like, yeah, the presidency shouldn't be a lifetime appointment. You can't just spam win it. Term limits. Boom. They're great. So somehow the president got a 3rd term, which in and of itself is Civil War territory. I mean, the first American Civil War, the linchpin of the first American Civil War was Abraham Lincoln becoming president because the South was like, oh shit, nope. We're out.
Right.
And so that makes perfect sense. Like, you don't need anything else than that. The president got a third term. That's unconstitutional. Something's wrong with the country and democracy. I think it's very funny that Texas and California are ever on the same side of something.
At that point, it's a science fiction movie.
But it's semi-plausible to me that the two biggest states, besides Alaska, would kind of have that kind of sway and kind of be leading that. My favorite thing about this movie was that it wasn't someone being like Trump bad, Biden bad, America bad, this, that, political message, insert here. It was just a movie about war journalism. That's the whole focus of the movie from the beginning to the end. Is there are people whose profession it is to go into war zones and photograph people dying.
Right.
And that's their job. They obsess over getting the perfect shot of the dude getting shot. They are committed to capturing this suffering so that they can present it to the rest of the world. And there's this scene where Lee, the main character, Mary Jane, is Insomniac's Mary Jane, in fact. She's a journalist, right?
Yep. She's Lois Lane in that game.
Dude.
Such a bland interpretation of Mary Jane.
There's the scene where they're sitting on like the couch in like that like ruined area, taking a break on their way to DC, and the like movie is basically explained to you at that point where it's like, I'm a war journalist. I went to these other countries to capture what was going on, to bring it back home and tell people this is bad. Don't do this here.
And you see her do that as well in flashbacks, which are very well executed.
No, they are. And they are real events. Like the people getting a tire put on them and then lit on fire, that was fucking happening. My favorite thing about the fact that they were like, let's make a war journalism movie, is they then wrote a war journalism movie that could take place in any country. Being very serious with you here, like, take the plot, which is about going from one part of the country to the capital to catch the rebel forces taking the capital and executing the president, and take the different plot beats, and you can literally strip America out, and it's any country ever. It's, here are the Doomsday Folk faction who own the gas station, the local gas station, and are torturing looters.
That scene was so disturbing.
That happens out there in countries like that are in these war times. People are desperate and unhinged and scared of each other. That happens. They will torture other people just for fun.
Right.
Then you have the war crime people out in the middle of nowhere who you don't really know what side they're on, which is the best part about the war crime scene. Just burying people in a mass grave.
That's
completely nonchalant, don't even care about it.
That's what adds to just scenes like that where you don't know who is who, and it adds to the intensity. The sniper scene where they're like, we don't even know why we're shooting at each other.
Get there.
Yeah. That's great commentary as well.
Hey, what's going on?
Someone in that house. They're stuck. We're stuck.
Who do you think they are?
No idea.
It adds to so much intensity of the movie that does so well, which Alex Garland is really great at. He made Annihilation as well, which has a great, intense, horrifying mutated bear scene.
You also have the scene where they're following the people in the urban war zone. Not at the White House, but the earlier one where it's like the people up on the roof shooting down at the people behind the pillars, finish the firefight, and they go up to the roof where the guys are and just execute everyone. Like that's how that shit goes in all those civil wars and all those other countries. Like every one of those stories is an anecdote you can pull from real life events. The American setting is just making it interesting for general audiences.
No, I don't think anyone would see this if it was set in like Syria or England.
Yeah,
or
the Civil War movie that's not about America would still be interesting, but you would probably have to follow specific historical things that were happening during those wars, and you'd have to be careful how you portray certain real life people or certain real life factions, or else you'd start some controversy.
Well, Alex Garland also had a family member, which he based this off of, who was a war journalist
That's
or a
what I'm saying,
photographer.
is I want to make a war journalist movie, but I don't want to make a documentary or a based on a true story war journalism movie. I just want the movie to be about war journalism, not even a specific journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's way better to do it in a fictional America, especially during a time when America is particularly divided and
Well, it's
for
already
some reason thinks a civil war is around the corner at every
no.
turn.
A civil war is is never gonna happen again in America. Everyone is too comfortable. Like
Fat, lazy,
no,
comfortable,
nobody.
uninterested.
People fighting in the streets against certain causes and protests and riots are gonna happen, but
Yeah.
there are so many people who are not willing to leave the comfort of their own home or the comfort of the life that they live to shoot somebody in the face because they like Joe Brandon or Trump.
I just saw all the through lines. I'm like, dude, this movie's so awesome. It's doing everything right. Like, it's really working for me right now because a lot of just good decisions were made, and every single like encounter with armed forces was intense, scary, visceral, unpredictable, and just raw.
None
which
of
is what
it-
it is in real life.
None of
Like,
it got old either.
Yeah.
Like you could make a complaint to where it's like they go somewhere and then something intense happens and they get out of it.
That's
But
any movie ever. That's
right,
so stupid.
you're
Yeah.
gonna run into some fucking weirdos or some moments where your life is in peril, especially when
road
you're
trip movie.
well, especially when you're taking the back roads because they didn't take the main roads and the back roads probably have the sketchiest shit going on.
I drove through the backwoods of West Virginia when we were helping our friend Liz move here. We flew up to go visit him in West Virginia and then drove back to Texas, which is almost the inverse route that they go in this
Yeah.
movie. It was so beautiful when they were in those West Virginia woods because that's what it was like up there. It was so pretty. I loved that. I don't know if they were actually shooting in West Virginia for that, but it was so pretty when they were in the car.
The
driving
movie's
to those fucking
the movie's
areas.
very like visually encapsulating too. Like just a broken down helicopter just in the middle of like I think a Kmart parking lot or whatever.
Awesome. That's
No,
how it
it's
is.
yeah, it was very just visually intriguing. Something as simple as that.
And the movie held back a lot because all the like promotional material, which some of it was unfortunately AI generated, all the promotional material is like American icons like on fire or destroyed or ruined with like soldiers around. The movie doesn't spend any time on that like at
No.
all, except for like
The third act where just shit's
the
getting
Lincoln Memorial gets blown up, and the White House gets shot up, and the Washington Monument might have been damaged. But other than that, like there aren't a lot of scenes of like the Statue of Liberty being knocked over. It's not about America. It's not about American icons being destroyed. The movie is about following war journalists in a car road tripping to the end of their journey. Talking about setups and payoffs, I loved each of these characters and where they ended up. I think the final moments in the White House are fucking phenomenal, and they're so raw. Like that's what it's like in real life. Is it's unpredictable. Everyone's on edge. The scenes where people are like, "Hey, don't shoot me," and then they just get shot.
Yeah.
like that happens because you don't know what the fuck they're gonna do.
On me. Reporters moving out.
No, it doesn't get into the territory of like a Michael Bay movie or like a and I've only seen like clips from these, but like a what's the Morgan Freeman one? West Point Down, the White
Olympus
House.
has fallen.
Olympus
White House
has-
down.
Olympus Has Fallen, or like a White House Down, where it's like very way too crisp of HD, and then they're shooting, and then it's in like
Yeah.
crazy slow motion.
It's not a like American exceptionalism war movie.
No,
like,
it's
at all.
it's kind of just shot with just the right amount of shaky cam and shot to where you know what's going on, but then you also don't in the way to where you're kind of in the point of view of like the soldiers going in.
I
Yeah,
love
fucking
that they
getting-
chose to just go with generic president. As funny as it would have been if they were just really doing a Trump parody. Some people think that's what they were doing. I think that.
No, I don't. I mean, other than like reaching for a third term, like
I mean, like
that, I don't think
they
that.
all want that.
No, they all do.
Most of them can't get it. Trump.
No.
Trump will be the first. Assuming he gets a second term, Trump will be the first to challenge it.
Right.
I love the scene where they're dragging him out from under the fucking president, the Oval Office desk. Like that is so funny that he's just hanging on to it like that.
My only
actors, I love that
only Late Night with the Devil-esque complaint of that is like he would have been in like the underground bunker that they have in the White House, which
and that's the part where they have to fictionalize a little bit because the president would be bunkered down and like in hiding somewhere.
I think that would have been a cool scene where they
But-
somehow break into the bunker and then there's more people.
the image of the president shot dead in the Oval
Yeah.
Office is just too good to pass up on
Right.
for your fictionalized movie about an American Civil War, especially since it's clear that the president's plan was to just surrender, and he thought, oh, if I just make the terms that they don't kill me, they won't kill me, because that's what it was they sent out the decoy to distract the military forces so that the rest of the forces would go in and then they would do negotiation, because that's what the press secretary was doing when she had that gun.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't reach for that gun. And she's like, the president would like to negotiate. The president. And then they just shoot her anyways. They're not there to negotiate. They're there for a body.
Bring him out here.
We gotta move, Sergeant.
Ma'am, the president is willing to...
Gunner, point!
Them smiling around like the dead president's body
Powerful.
also brings it together to where there's also a line where it's like the alliances are just going to eat each other in the end.
You watch. Soon as DC falls, they'll turn on each other.
Democracy already has a lot of problems in general, but like when you have an America in the sense of like a lot of fucking crazy people have weapons, and if you loot you just get hung instead of just get arrested and thrown in prison, and then just smiling in the face of death of something that was not necessarily holding America together but was the last hold of like
I mean, it's the same thing as like the pictures of Mussolini and his entire family just hanging from a fucking wire. Like people were celebrating that shit.
but there's no way
Morbid. And
yeah.
it's also, I think the movie never explicitly tries to tell you war journalism is bad or war journalism is good. It just shows you what it is. What it is it is the capturing of death and the exploitation of that suffering to send a message. There's a almost perverse desire for it that people have.
Because if you don't have a compelling image, then you don't have a story necessarily.
The whole movie is just them taking pictures of people dying. Like it's never just the scenes that are happening, it's someone's getting shot. And I love that piece of dialogue that gets super duper payoff at the end of the movie where the little girl is like,
would you photograph that moment if I got shot? What do you think?
because that's absolutely what she's gonna do. She's waiting for that moment all the way for it to get paid off, where at the end Lee is the one who ends up getting shot and the little girl takes a picture of it. Was like, damn, that
And
that's raw as fuck.
A lot of people complain about the third act too, and I didn't mind it at all.
Good.
In terms of where those two characters go, because I feel like when you're in a moment where there's already a lot of gunfire going on, you're just trying to get the picture of the president. Like you're not gonna react very well to somebody that you.
Well, and her personality also did change.
Yeah.
She starts the movie very naive, very innocent, very like, oh, this is exciting to me. This is heroic.
And then she comes across, the
And she sees all
grisly
this
reality.
death, all these.
Almost dies by Todd from Breaking Bad.
She's traumatized, and she doesn't even have any time to process what's happened to her. She is just focused on getting the pictures. She took like 4 fucking pictures of her friend dying.
Yeah.
Her friend and mentor getting shot to death. She's just click, 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 click.
Yeah, that's wild.
Crazy. And it
Also adds to Lee's character arc where she took a picture of her other, I guess, mentor in a way.
She took a picture of her mentor dying.
But then she also deleted it, and then
their characters inverse. By the end of the movie, the little girl is now where Lee was at the start of the movie. I love the scene where Lee deletes the picture of the guy in the car, because the whole time when she took the picture and they reveal that she's got the picture on her phone, I was like, oh, how does that feel when it's one of your friends dying?
And then he also got in the way of the shooter saving them, which then he got shot.
And then she does that. Oh yeah, hey.
Yeah. So there's
A lot of it, yeah.
Oh, this
It's a cycle.
movie has nothing to say. This movie I see so many video essays where it's like the art of saying nothing, and it's like, what? Like about this movie. It's
No, this movie
wild.
says a lot.
Yeah.
It just leaves a lot to your own interpretation, and it's not your Trump bad, America.
No, I'm sorry.
is going to war.
Sorry, Antifa didn't get to invade the White House and the
They
fucking.
did mention Antifa.
When you were in college, you took the motherfucking legendary photo of the Antifa massacre.
They didn't mention the Proud Boys.
Yeah, well, there's footage of Antifa. I saw some people like saying like, "Don't go see this movie" because there's some right wing guy that used archive footage of. I can't remember his name.
Andy No?
Andy No. They used some Antifa attack footage of it from Andy No, and people are like, "Don't go see that."
The
But it's
journalists that people assault in the streets here in America.
like it's footage that
Yeah.
added to the I don't know. It's footage. I don't think they're
Footage
not
of
endorsing his
civil
politics.
unrest.
Try and put the will.
No, she was a Hitler
Okay,
fan.
she was a Hitler fan, but
she was a super duper Hitler fan.
But footage of that is used as like, hey, let's in other movies of like, hey, let's not repeat Hitler's actions. You know, we talked a lot about plot, but the characters are also pretty great. Every character. I was worried about because I see the little girl and like the marketing, the trailer. I'm like, she's gonna be so annoying.
No, she's not.
But she's great. Lee is also great. She's very gruff and jaded, but it's not to where it's annoying or it's not viable.
Her friend, the guy who's not there to take pictures but is there to do interviews, because that's the thing is that he's the interview guy, she's the picture guy. His goal is to get an interview with the president, and the whole time they're joking about what he's gonna say. And I love the quote so much where the older gentleman is like, "These guys, they're not everything that you think they might be. In fact, they're gonna disappoint you."
What do you think he'll actually say if I do get a mic in front of him? Not much. The ones that get taken, Gaddafi, Mussolini, Ceausescu, they're always lesser men than you think. At the end, he'll let you down, Joe.
Because every time they take them alive, you end up realizing how pathetic they are. They don't have anything to say. And he doesn't really believe that. He says, "Stop!" before the soldiers are about to execute the president, and is like, "Do you have anything to say, Mr. President?"
I need a quote.
Don't let him kill me.
Yeah. That'll do.
Please don't let them kill me.
The realization that, yep, this was all for nothing. There's no statement to get out of him. And he says, "That'll do."
He also has friends who are adrenaline junkies that end up like getting in the mess with the car, like but they're swapping cars, and then
That was
leads
cool.
into the which you haven't
Don't ever show Caleb that movie. He'll try that in real life.
Oh god.
Justice!
Close the door.
Which leads into the Jesse Plemons scene, which a lot of people talk about. I mean,
He's not a thrill seeker after that.
No, he's is sobered up at that point. That's the best scene in the fucking movie.
Yes, sir. Those two guys over there, they're my colleagues.
What kind of colleagues?
Journalists, sir. We're passing through.
Passing through to where?
Charlottesville.
Charlottesville.
They started a new program. They are reopening the school, which is it's a real feel-good story. And I guess we all need that, right?
Yeah. This guy's your colleague? This guy here?
Yes, sir. He's my...
That guy?
There's a cool fact about it where they had another actor who wasn't Jesse Plemons in mind, and then that actor dipped at last minute, and Kirsten Dunst is married to Jesse Plemons, and she called him, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to do this part? It's just a day shoot."
He fucking stole that scene.
The fact that he like got that done within a day or two and like played it. No, him itching his face like
With the
okay,
bloody hand.
yeah, like, and there's a great comment I saw where those like colored sunglasses where he looks like Elton John. He probably doesn't own those. He probably picked that out of the pile of dead people and just put them on as like, oh, this is cool.
I love
to
that
the interviewer
scene so much because he's gonna kill them.
Oh yeah, no,
In his
he's
head,
he's
already
just
killed
no, he's
them.
playing with his food.
Yeah, he has no intention of letting them go. He's just entertaining them because clearly he gets a kick out of it.
And I like how you don't know what side he's either from.
all.
He could just be just some guy who just stole a military outfit in a van and then is just killing people.
Taking a mass grave. I love the little nonchalant dialogue of where the guy who's piloting the dump truck, and he goes, "Hey, there's one of them stuck up there."
Wyatt, there's one hung up in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't even.
And no,
that's not a
it's stuck
human
up there
body
for
to
the
him.
whole scene too.
That's not a body to him. That's
Yeah.
that's just a fucking thing to throw. That's a piece of trash.
Mm-hmm.
The guy says, "What kind of American are you?" Best thing you can do there is lie,
Mm-hmm.
and just say you are the American he likes. Especially since the advantage of being in America is you can be just about any race, and you can be American. It's not American. It's not an ethnic identity.
It's a melting pot.
And so the guy is of Asian descent, but if he said, I'm from fucking California, maybe he would have been fine. But he's terrified. He's freaked the fuck out. And he tells the truth. He says, I'm from Hong Kong.
I'm from Hong Kong.
Oh, China. China.
Oh, God.
Both of their deaths made me jump. I don't think I've ever been like, I don't think I've jumped at a movie in like a long time. Like even Late Night with the Devil didn't make me.
It was everything I wanted it to be. And it didn't have, it was not the movie I thought it was going to be. And that was awesome.
No, when
because I was so worried it would be ass.
I wanted to see the movie like right from the get-go, despite the trailer not being that great. But when people were like saying like it has no political message and it doesn't have anything to say, I was like, I want to see this more now instead of like being lectured to by Hollywood again and again and again about politics. No, I agree. I really enjoy it. It reminded me, it's not really a road trip movie, but the movie Apocalypse Now has the same format where we follow a group of characters, or I think the main character, and he's at a different point of the Vietnam War in a different section where there's some weirdos and they move on, and there's some weirdos and then it's intense, and so on and so forth, which is like a cool format to follow because like nobody is safe when you're in those disturbing war territories as well. It has a lot to say. I just think that it doesn't spell it out to you.
It's not putting its thumb on the fucking scale at all.
Which is good.
It's presenting war journalism to you and letting you come to your own conclusions about what war journalism is.
If you're mad about it not saying anything about American politics in general, there's at least just a character arc for most of the characters involved.
And it's
like,
all satisfying.
Yeah, like in a fictionalized context, you know?
Yeah.
You can view it through that lens instead of just like, I don't know, your fucking political lens.
I love that Lee went out like Piccolo.
I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, so.
There's a scene where the bad guy is about to kill the little kid, Gohan. He shoots a big blast at him, and then Piccolo runs in front of it and eats the blast and saves the little kid. Except Gohan wasn't taking pictures of Piccolo when he died. That was the difference there.
I'm so glad I don't watch anime.